Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Abby, and it's that time of year when every knitter in the Northern Hemisphere is planning their fall and winter knits. Hello. It's me. And I have a lot of fun project plans to show you today, and I will also be mocking up all of them so that we really get a full picture. The last time I posted about making mock-ups, I got a lot of questions asking how I made them. So if that is interesting to you, I will be making a video all about how I made the mock-ups that I'm showing you today, and that video will be coming out in just a few days. Also, I plan to knit mostly from stash this fall and winter. I don't have like a huge yarn stash, but it is getting a little bit larger than I would like it to. So I want to prioritize projects that use my stash and pretty much only buy yarn that will supplement what I currently have. So that was a big motivation behind what I planned for this fall and winter. And I split my projects into 3 categories. The first will be all of my main project plans. The second will be a project with some hand spun yarn. And the third will be a couple projects that I'm currently working on that I want to finish before the year ends. Okay, let's get into it. My first project is the Viola tee by Ronja Hakalehto. I clearly am not Finnish, so I'm sure I didn't pronounce that correctly, but this is a colorwork yoke tee using 2 different contrasting colors to the main color throughout the colorwork. This is such a pretty yoke. The best way I can describe this colorwork chart is that it's very well balanced, and I really like the use of colors. There's a fairly dominant contrasting color here, and then there's a second contrast color that is a little bit less dominant. And I think there's some room to play here as far as deciding which part of the chart you want to knit in which color. But here's my mock-up. The contrasting colors I've chosen are quite similar to the tee that I'm wearing right now. And these are based on 2 skeins that I have in stash. The first is this Trilogy Yarns Plush. This is a Superwash MCN blend. It's in the colorway Orange Slice, and I mean, I love this color. Don't know if you can tell. And I also have this leftover skein in my stash. This is a Madeline Tosh. It's a discontinued line. It was their Euro sock. It's in the colorway Porcelain, and it's just a very light pink. And I thought that it contrasted well with the orange. It almost looks a little bit more pink when you pair them together. And for my main color, I don't have the yarn for it, but I was thinking either just a straight up black or a dark brown would look nice with these 2. The yarn that the pattern calls for is BC Garn Bio Balance, which I've never used, but it is a wool and cotton blend that looks really interesting. So I might go for that for my main color. I also might just go for a basic Knitting for Olive. I think it'll really come down to what color I choose and what color options the yarn lines have. I also am debating lengthening the sleeves. Maybe if all of it was in a cotton merino blend, I would feel better about making it as a tee, but since I'm adding in these wool yarns, I just don't know that I would wear it as a t-shirt. So I have some decisions to make, and I'm just letting it marinate for now. But I really love the way these colors look with this colorwork yoke. My mock-up is not very crisp, not nearly as crisp as my knit stitches will be, but it still pops, and I'm very excited to use this yarn in a sweater. My next project is one that I have all of the yarn for because I bought this yarn specifically to make this sweater. This is the Agnete cardigan by Petite Knit. I probably don't need to describe it because it's so popular, but I've been wanting a brioche cardigan with double knit button bands for the longest time, and frankly, I've just been not in the mood to make it, I guess. It's gonna be a big undertaking, it's gonna be a lot of brioche, but I do love knitting brioche, and I think I'm ready to finally tackle this one. So the pattern is using a DK weight yarn by holding a fingering weight with a strand of mohair. I'm not the biggest fan of mohair, so I just decided to buy a DK weight yarn, and I went with Sandnes Garn Double Sunday. This is in the colorway Statement Green, which happens to be a petite knit colorway. If you follow me, you know that I don't knit a lot of petite knit, and I also have never tried Double Sunday before. It just so happened that I ended up with quite a trendy combination, but I love this green. I bought this at the start of the year, again, knowing that I was going to knit this specific cardigan, and I really can't wait to have this in my wardrobe. I'm a huge fan of green, and yes, this is a statement, but I think it's gonna be really good. By the way, this is going to be a fairly heavy cardigan fall for me. I haven't knit a lot of cardigans, so I feel like I'm kind of catching up on them. So this will not be the only cardigan in this video. My third project is a sweater out of this Brooklyn Tweed tones. This is the overtone in the colorway Zest, and I got this in their final sale. This is one of my favorite colors of Brooklyn Tweed, and really just in general. I know it's a little bit controversial. It's not necessarily a popular color, but as I mentioned, I'm just a huge fan of green of all types, and I love this color. I have no idea if it looks good on me or if it works with my coloring, but you know what? I don't care. This is the worsted weight version, and when I bought this, they only had 7 skeins left. So I have a total of 980 yards of this, which is not quite enough to make a full-size sweater for myself. Initially, I was thinking of knitting a color block sweater, something like the Ellie sweater by Irene Lynn, where I could knit the bottom portion of the sweater in this green. Then I figured I would just do a quick search on Ravelry just to see if there were some sweater patterns out there with the yardage amount that I have, and I found this step-by-step cardigan by Florence Miller. It's a cropped cardigan, so it uses a little bit less yarn than maybe you would think, but my size calls for 1,000 yards, and I have just under that, so I could maybe make it work. I wanted to look at colorwork yokes with only 2 colors, like a main color and a contrasting color, because this green is so striking on its own that I wasn't sure if it would work with multiple colors. So I searched through my Ravelry favorites and I came across the Cléo by Orlane Sucche. I have knit 2 of her sweater patterns and I really like both of them. This is a pattern I've had favorited for a long time, and I have kind of come back to it every now and then as an option, but I've never actually knit it. But I wasn't sure what color would go with this green. I almost feel like you could throw any color at it and it would kind of work, but does it actually look great? I don't know. So I found a color wheel and relied on that to choose a color for me. And the complementary color on the color wheel is this iris periwinkle blue purpley color, which is a color that I like a lot. So I was excited, but I was also a little bit skeptical because looking at these 2 colors individually, it just didn't seem like they would pair well together. So this is why mock-ups are helpful, because when I mocked up roughly what this would look like, I was really surprised by how good this looks. I mean, it's from the color wheel, so I shouldn't be surprised, but I really like this. And I found basically the exact same color from Harrisville Designs in their Highland yarn, which is a worsted weight. I've been wanting to try this yarn for such a long time. They have a really good color selection, and this seems like the perfect opportunity to try it. So if I go this route, this is most likely what I would choose. Well, I will not be going this route because I thought this pattern was a worsted weight. It is not. It is a sport weight, and I don't think there's any way for me to get around that. So unfortunately, the Cléo pattern is off the table with this specific yarn. I still would like to knit it though, but I did do some searching on Ravelry for actual colorwork worsted weight patterns, and I did find one that I like. So this is the Bloom Pullover by Brianna Mason. I don't know much about this designer, but I just found this pattern and I really liked the colorwork yoke. It also works better with the amount of yarn that I have because the collar is knit in the contrast color, and so it uses less of the main color. So I did a quick mock-up just to see what it would look like, and I like it. I like it quite a bit. I am going to spend some more time looking at other patterns, but this or something close to this is now what I'm envisioning. I did want to mock up another colorwork pattern that has been floating around in the back of my head for quite a while. It's one that I've heard a lot of people talk about as a good basic colorwork yoke pattern, which is the Celeste by Petite Knit. I don't knit a lot of Petite Knit, so it's kind of funny that she happened to be in here twice, but I have to admit that she writes good patterns. They're classic, and because this pattern incorporates multiple contrast colors. I think there's up to 5 colors in total, but you might be able to play around with that. But because of that, I went back to the color wheel and I found a trio of colors that I thought looked pretty good. And even though I do like these colors together, I am glad I mocked this up because it's kind of giving your dad's Columbia windbreaker from the 90s. It's cool and it makes me want to knit something like this for sure, but I don't think that this is the right vibe for the Brooklyn tweed yarn. I don't know. What do you think? My fourth project is with a sweater pattern that has kind of flown under the radar, and that is the Larch Pullover by Paula Leme. This is a sport weight sweater, and you are probably thinking this looks quite similar to the Onkers sweater by Petite Knit. Wow, she is just really making an appearance here, isn't she? And even though they do look similar, it is knit completely differently. It's knit out of a different stitch pattern. It has short row shaping, and I just like this one a lot more. And I've been thinking about knitting this one for a while because it is knit from the bottom up, and I think it would be interesting to explore why someone would choose to knit a bottom-up sweater as a video concept. And if I am going to explore that, I want to be making a bottom-up sweater. And the reason I would choose this one is that because it's a yoke construction, it's one of those methods where you have to join the lower half of the body with the sleeves and then knit the yoke up. And I don't see a lot of people knitting that style anymore, but I do think that it has its benefits. So I wouldn't be making this just to make that video, but I thought if I do decide to make this, that would be an interesting thing to explore. And I would be making this out of Rowan Felted Tweed. This is a yarn that I got from a D-stash. Yes, it's another green. Green and orange are like my color palette. This is in the colorway Pickle. And I don't know, there's not a whole lot to say about Rowan Felted Tweed. It's a sport weight, it's a tweed. It's a blend of merino, alpaca, and viscose. So I think it would work well here for the half fisherman's yoke. And I think ultimately this would just be a really basic sweater to wear, but it sounds interesting enough for me to knit. And I like to strike the balance between really fun, interesting knits and basic stuff that I can wear frequently. I feel like we're all trying to strike that balance. And this one I think is just a good wardrobe staple. The last project in my main projects category is an accessory because I felt kind of bad about only showing you sweater patterns. And this is something that I will almost definitely knit at some point because I already own the pattern and the yarn. So this is the Essential Beanie by Andrea Gaughan, and I won this pattern in a knit along that Andrea was hosting. I haven't made it yet, but I really want to. And the cool thing about this pattern is that it is a variety of beanie sizes in a variety of gauges. So it really is the Essential Beanie. And it's just a basic ribbed beanie, but I was thinking about knitting it out of this Noro yarn. This is the Noro Madara. It is a worsted weight yarn, and apparently it's in a limited edition colorway. I bought this from my LYS, but when I was looking at it online, it says it's limited edition, so I don't know, you can still get it, but I just thought it was a really pretty blue, so that's why I picked it up. And I don't think that this really needed a mock-up, but might as well since I'm showing you the others. All right, now we're gonna get into a hand-spun project that I definitely want to work on this fall. And I have talked about this in my Tour de Fleece videos, so I won't spend too much time on it, but I want to use my most recent sweater combo spin to knit the Port Cardigan by Ozetta. I tried to mock this up, I really did. Obviously I haven't knit with this yarn yet, and this yarn is one of a kind, so I wasn't able to use the techniques that I did for the others to make a mock-up. I would have used my swatch, but my swatch is really not a good representation of the colors in these skeins. So what I did try was unwinding the hanks and laying them out, taking a photo of it, and then using that to get the right colors, but you could really see the yarn texture no matter what I did, and it just didn't look very good. So I just decided that I'm gonna knit this no matter what because I spun this yarn for this pattern, so we don't really need a mock-up, and you we'll both get to find out what this looks like when I knit it. But this is a DK weight yarn, and I just really wanted like a basic crew neck cardigan for this project. It's kind of trendy, but I've never made one, and I thought that type of pattern would work well to showcase my yarn that I worked so hard on. So those are my plans. Obviously, I reserve the right to change my mind on things, but I think that's generally what I will be working on this upcoming season. It's kind of a lot. It's definitely like my fall and winter plans, and if I get all of this done before the year is over, I will consider that a huge win, but I'm not really expecting to actually get all of this done because I have 2 other like long-term projects that I'm working on that I definitely want to get done. And the first is my Tessellated vest by Andrea Mowry. I am working on a video for this, and it's been a long time in the making. I spun yarn specifically for this project, for the color changing yarn. I'm knitting this out of Imperial Yarn Mackenzie in the colorway Moss, another green. I'm so sorry. I'm not actually sorry. And my mohair is just knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in the colorway Dark Mustard. And I really love the way this is turning out. The stitch pattern is a little slow going because it's mosaic knitting, but it is just the vest version, so I don't need to knit sleeves. So I would definitely like to focus on this and get this one done because obviously I already planned it and started it. And my other long-term whip is my longest standing whip, which is my Pitch Cardigan by Emily Greene. Yes, it's making a reappearance because I have accepted that if I don't finish it now, I'm not going to finish it. I started this September 10th, 2023, 2 years ago. It is absolutely my longest standing whip, if you don't count a blanket that I've been working on. But here's where I'm at with this sweater. I have completely finished the back panel, which as you can see is really the bulk of the knitting because it is such a long cardigan and it's beautiful. Cables, moss stitch. It's got this cool design in the back where the cables pitch out, which is why it's named that. So I am once again committing to finishing this. Do we need a vlog on it? Like this video if you want to see that. I'm using Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, and I feel like that's another good reason to finish this because I definitely wouldn't frog it at this point, but I have all the Brooklyn Tweed yarn. There are 2 reasons I ended up putting this down. One is that it's a long cardigan, which kind of went out of style, and I don't know if it's coming back into style. I don't like super care about that, but I do want to wear what I make, and so it kind of took some of the motivation out of it for me. And the second reason is that this is knit at quite a dense gauge and it hurts my hands to work on it. Plus I'm using combination knitting to meet gauge, which is just a little bit more annoying to do. So it's not the most enjoyable project to work on. But again, I started this 2 years ago, so I need to figure out if I actually do want to finish it. And the only way I'm going to do that is if I start working on it again. Will I finish it by the end of the year? I don't know. This is a lot of knitting, but I would like to pick it back up again because even if I don't wear it as often as maybe I would like, I think just finishing it would be an accomplishment. While you're still here, I just wanted to shout out some honorable mentions. These are some patterns that I considered knitting, but I just don't think I'll have the time to get to this year. The first is Rib Wave by Joanna Ang. This is just a very beautiful sweater. It looks really fun to knit. It's knit at a DK weight, so it's using a fingering with a mohair. You knit it from the top down, but you start knitting the yoke flat and then you join them together by picking up stitches and then you knit in the round. It just sounds like a really interesting pattern that's quite unique looking as a sweater. I also love how the sleeve detail matches the front yoke. It's just such a pretty, well-designed looking sweater. Another one that I love is the Willow Pullover by Joan Ho. The cables speak for themselves. themselves, this is such a beautiful and classic looking sweater. There's an orange one that somebody made, and like that is just speaking to me. Along similar lines is the Wiliam sweater by Joanna Gehrisch. It's pretty clearly knit side to side, which is just an interesting way to knit a sweater. Based on other people's photos of this one, it looks like that the cable that intersects with the neckline is a little bit different depending on what size you knit. So that might be something that I would want to modify just to get it to look a little bit nicer in my opinion, but this is a really cool sweater. I would like to knit it someday. Another one I would like to knit is the Regolith by Kiyomi Bergen. This is a hoodie, and if you've been around for a while, you might know I love hoodies. This one just looks so cozy, but also fun to knit and quite interesting with the like lace detailing. This one is the Avena cardigan by Heidi Pettersen. And as you can see, it combines crochet and knitting. It has these really pretty sunburst granny squares on the bottom half. And then it transitions into a classic knit raglan. This one just honestly seems fun to make. The Eye Dazzler sweater by Jennifer Berg has been on my list for a while because it is truly an eye dazzler. The colorwork chart is just so beautiful and it looks really cool in a color changing yarn. And I love how far down the colorwork yoke comes. This would be a good one for some hand spun yarn for sure. And lastly, the Glitch sweater by lowkey.bold.knit. This one is really just a simple micro striped yoke sweater, but I love the way the stripes continue throughout the entire yoke. I think usually we see stripes done on like a drop shoulder, and I think this just looks really cool. Plus the ribbing with the stripes just looks visually very interesting. I think this one would be super wearable. So that's what I have planned for my fall and winter knitting. It's a lot. I doubt I'll be able to get all of this done, but I'm also so ready to just stay in my home and knit. I am ready to hibernate, and at the end of my hibernation, I will have a lot of sweaters. If there's one pattern that I'm the most excited about, I think it would be the Viola tee. I mean, I think you can understand why. So if you have one pattern that you're planning on making this fall that you're like super excited about, I want to know what it is. I'm not locked into these patterns. I can be talked out of any of them. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.